and welcome to another edition of Life is People. Well, tonight, it's been a while since we last spoke, my friend, and we just as many great conversations and many great podcasts, man. We kind of had all the best conversations before we go live, and I think the sort of thread of our conversation was before we were going live. Really, we were just discussing the state of the world, really, and just generally about Trump and how things are, over this side of the world. And I don't know. I don't know if you want to sort of carry on that thought process, because I mean, we were just saying about who has the ultimate power in this world. Is it Trump? Is it military? And I don't know, man. I think just to sort of carry the point I was just saying before we did go live. As much as me and you would probably be on the same page, we'd love everybody to get along and be like that. But it's a dark world, dude. It's a world where there's people out there who want to, for whatever reason, both sides, they want to drop drones on people, or the other side do. They want to blow up, arenas with little girls in it, man. I mean, it's a dark world we live in.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's dark out there. It's dark, and as much as it is dark, I guess I would like to think that it's at least light as well. I'd like to think good and bad are balanced in this world, but I mean, balance isn't perfect. It's like you would like the world to be all good and all flowers and roses, but life isn't perfect. So I guess the next best thing, or the sufficient thing to do, would be to have balance in your life, and hopefully a balance in good and evil.
Well, yeah, exactly, my friend. I mean, if you're going to get really kind of like this, I mean, that's the whole point of life. I mean, life is just one. Life is suffering. I mean, that's what life is. We're born. We're gonna suffer and we're gonna die, man. I mean, that's the truth of it. So you're right, and it's what you extract out of that chaos and into make it into what you make it into. But
Yeah,
I,
man.
I think I just think on the and that whole kind of power politics and everything like this. And I think it kind of leads something to I wanted to talk to you about, as you know, kind of what you've been studying for the last 2 years. But I just think the ultimate way that you can stop any of the things that we would agree, and I think most of us agree on this planet, we don't want anyone being slaughtered on fields or battlefields or any of that stuff. That's the kind of a way we don't get to. And I think the only way to solve this is to take their money away. I think the only reason they can get the weapons and all that stuff is because they force people into a tax farm where they can funnel that money into building weapons to destroy human beings. And I think the only way you can really do that is to take the power back from them. That's a long process, or it could be a short process, which is I think where technology is going to step in, because I think technology takes the power, as we said way before. I mean, as we say just before we go live, then I mean Donald Trump is a perfect example we're talking about, man. The very fact we got an old man controlling one alpha male, apparently controlling 300 million
Dude,
Americans, dude. It
you
just
know what's
proves.
so
Go on.
crazy about Donald Trump? What is so crazy about this man? This man is 70 years old. Just let that sink in. He's 70 years old and he's acting this way. Wow. That's amazing. That is something that like I guess shocks me every time I think about it. Like when I look at him and I like listen to what he says and how he's conducting himself, I'm like, dude, you're 70. You are 70 and you're acting this way. But as we said earlier, before we went live and stuff, I'm sorry. Something just popped up on my screen that was really funny. But as I said earlier, before we started, this is the first time, America really has to just feel the effect of what's going on and like the chaos of what's going on in their own territory. Like, no offense, to like when we fight overseas, because I mean, obviously that still affects us at home in a big way, but there's another country out there who's being affected more at that time, because we're fighting a war over there. We're not even fighting a war here. We just got chaotic shit going on because of this last election and, just because of the state of affairs in general. So it's like, okay. And it's something, it's a different sight to see, I'll say that much, because it's not something you see that often, because normally we're pretty much insulated, I feel like, from the rest of the world. And I'm not even saying like in a bad way. I'm just saying like we're protected as far as, attacks go, military strikes. I mean, military, strikes go and stuff like that. I'm not saying we're completely protected. Things still happen over here, but we're way more protected than other countries. So the only way I feel like we're really even going to be affected as a nation adversely is through something political. So, and that seems to be what's going on. So it's pretty crazy to watch. It's just pretty crazy to see unfold all at one time. It's pretty crazy.
You're absolutely right, and I think, and I tell you, man, even since the last time we spoke, and it's one of the things that I'll give you my reflection from just one person sitting here in the Highlands of Scotland, looking over to America. I think never before have I seen such a country dividing down echo chambers and into team mentality like never before, man. And it's kind of scary, dude, because when you sort of, it's either I'm pro red or I'm pro blue, and it's kind of like, dude, we need to get over this shit, because ultimately, it's what we just saying. We've got one life, dude, and we've got to come together and find solutions. And that's what I find scary at the moment when I look across to America. Is everyone's just retreating to the sides and no one's talking. Everyone's just screaming at each other and screaming at each other. And those screams go from shouts to screams to something gets thrown, then a bullet gets, and before we know it, we're all just killing each other, do that. And I think that never more so is two things more relevant. We need to start talking to each other, which is where it falls on the hands of us, the creative dude, because we're that glue between the teams people. We got the mindset to go, look, there's not, we can rise above all this and hopefully connect people and at least put them in a place where they can sit down and talk, man. Because if we don't talk, we get to some very, very scary places, man. And especially, dude, I mean, this is one of the things about America. Man, for someone, I live in a house, my house I live in right now is older than your country. And I think it was only like 2-3 generations ago. When you think about it, what's a life, 50, 60, 70 years? So you think 2-3 lifetimes ago, man, you were in civil war. It's not that far away from America, and it could easily happen again. And that's the scary one I think right now, that it could be on the brink of, if you don't start talking to each other.
I mean, I don't think it's really, just speaking from someone who lives here. I wouldn't say it's gotten that far, but I would say that tensions are definitely rising. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but yeah, tensions are definitely heightened, and that's due to this last election. But at the same time, maybe this will be the thing that has us open up a dialogue of whatever sort that we need to open. I don't really know if we're gonna be able to, if we're gonna do that or not, but it could definitely happen. I mean, you need something to motivate you to even communicate with each other. You would need something big. If two people, or not even two people, but just separate people are on different spectrums, in life, and then you need them to speak to each other, you're going to need a catalyst of some sort. So I think Donald Trump and this whole election and Hillary Clinton and everybody, Bernie Sanders, all of them, all the Republicans, maybe this whole chaotic, bullshit that's going on will finally make us speak to each other. But only time will tell.
Well, as I said before, man, I mean, you're right. Maybe it's just one, maybe it's a multitude of things that are going to make this happen. Because, like I say, whether it's the politics one, because I mean, my final line on this, because I don't like talking about politics. But my point on this, dude, and the way I look at it is like, you said it before, they're old people, dude. You've got Trump, who apparently has got time in his life to watch 5 hours of TV a day, and you've got Hillary Clinton, who's putting the world's secrets on her own server. I mean, these are old people, dude. I mean, this is my point to it. I just think, as much as you're right, and I think there could be many things that topple it, but I think one of the things, and again, and I think it bleeds into what we were going to talk to you about. I really want to talk to you about was intellectual property in the law and stuff. But I just think technologies, as we're seeing, I think that's going to be to me, technology is the one that it's already happening. It's a disruptive element in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And everyone's like, oh, I'm getting annoyed about Trump and I'm getting annoyed about Hillary. And it's like, in the meantime, we just got this technology rising, AI coming up. We've got, Elon Musk is, putting things into space, and all this time that all this is going on, everyone's just got us in, supposedly scream at the TV about what color we support. And I do think the thing that's going to push us towards any kind of evolution as a species is going to be technology. Now, I want to bring this into, again, you've been studying, and you were telling me that you've been looking into, obviously studying corporate law and intellectual property and IP, and so I wanted to ask you. This is from a point of perspective of a creative person. First of all, let's take it right back to step one. Give me an overview of what IP, intellectual property, actually involves, because there's as I understand it, there's copyrights, there's trademarks, there's patents. So just give me an overview of what
Sure.
what it is, and I mean, and this maybe again particularly focusing on what steps. Well, no. Let's take start. No, let's
Sure,
start. Let's start one. What is?
I'll give you a little bit of the
Give me
411. Now, granted, I'm only been in law school for like 1 year, so I'm not going to be able to give you everything. But basically, this is how it works, right? You have trademarks, and trademarks, they're like you guys have McDonald's in the UK, yeah? They're like your McDonald's, Golden Arches, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a trademark. So brands like that, what else do y'all have? Sky, you know Sky TV? That little Sky TV symbol, that's probably, that's trademarked, So you have those things that can be trademarked. Now, when it comes to trademarks, you have to have a certain level of uniqueness to your trademark. You can't make it too generic, because the people are the officials who accept the trademarks and process the trademarks. They're not gonna accept it if it's too generalized. So you have to have a unique level of creativity to your trademarks, which is what I find interesting, like in intellectual property overall, just the protection of an idea, even though this is just one type of idea I'm talking about. Like overall, the protection of an idea to me is so crazy, because it's like, first of all, when would you even think that you needed to protect an idea? I wonder how the origins even really got created. But back on subject, you have your copyrights next, right? And your copyrights, those are like movies, music, stuff like that. So your creative arts and stuff like that, you protected copyright. Scripts will be copyrighted. Screenplays, stuff like that. Design, shirts, clothing brands, all that's copyrighted. That's your third type. And again, the level of uniqueness, the shifting scale is still there. You still have your level of uniqueness you need, and your level of art, and you can't fall below a certain level of generalization. Like you can't be too generic with it. Then you have your patents, and the patents are probably one of the. Trademarks and copyrights are also known, but patents are also really, big over here too. I would say patents are maybe the biggest topic in intellectual property, because of what it controls. It literally controls your, your utilities. Like, okay, you got your cars. Those would be like the car itself. A car would have to be, well, not a car, but an invention. Like if you invented a new car, I guess. Like let's say the electric car wasn't here, or the self-driving car wasn't in development. Someone invented it. That invention would be patented. So you would have to protect that one. You protect an idea or an invention or an innovation. So again, you'd have to be unique, but that's what you would be protecting. So it's like a tangible object usually, or it can be an idea for a tangible object, like for like a self-flying car or something like that. That method that you used could get patented. And that's pretty much all of the areas of intellectual property.
Right. Okay. So let's start with the first one on the trademark one, right? And this is where I want to kind of chew your brain, my friend. Now on the trademark one, okay, most people can understand, why Nike or McDonald's or Coca-Cola have kind of got that symbol, and you can understand the rationale behind that. Where I find it gets a bit and I don't know if this is in the States as well, but it's definitely over here. Man, corporations can own colours. For instance, Heinz baked beans, they own the blue on the Heinz baked beans.
Hmm.
Certain confectionaries own certain purples and certain reds. I think Coca-Cola
Okay.
own their red.
Yeah, I was about to ask. I was about to say. So you're saying that these colors though they're unique, right? They're like their own. They made this shade of blue or something like that, or this shade of purple.
Well, this is what I'm
Okay.
trying to. This is what I'm trying to say. I imagine it must get really technical because as an artist, someone who paints, you're right. You can almost have a wide spectrum of colours. So I was
Hmm.
what my question to you, maybe you know or don't know, but let's take for instance, Heinz have got the Heinz blue. I come out with a product and call it beans, and I have it exactly. I don't have their design, their trademark, but I call it beans, and I have their blue. And Heinz look at it, their lawyers, and say, "Oh, actually, that's very close." And
Mm.
how fine do they get? Because do you think they have a range of like, maybe, okay, that's within 100 pixels of a shade of the blue we want, or is it, it's one shade, a one little pixel away from the exact shade? I mean, how technical do you think they get with this? Because these are areas that I often wonder about because I thought, okay, I can understand why maybe Coca-Cola got their red, but dude, if they own the whole kind of spread around that shade of red, that's a bit creepy, man. That's a bit sneaky because, dude, it's one thing to say you own a specific color, but you can't say you own red.
Hmm. Well, see, the thing about that would be when it comes to them, I guess, pressing a lawsuit in America, I would, I would think, like I said, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I'm still, studying. Um, they would have to prove somehow that you have imitated, uh, that color in such a way that I guess it's, causing you trouble. Because I feel like if they just said, "Oh, if you just if you just had a red paint or whatever, you just painted a symbol red, whatever," and they came after you for that, and they couldn't legitimately show that that red is just like your red, right? And you actually made this red, and you have this red copyrighted, then they have no real recourse. So that'd be a pretty hard thing to prove. Like even if a powerful company like Heinz came up and was like, "This is our blue. Look at that blue. We have this blue copyrighted," and they directly copied us. I mean, blue is kind of blue to me, but if it's a light blue, it's still, if you can find that same blue in a Home Depot, okay, then obviously you don't own the exclusive rights to it unless you're going to go sue Home Depot next, I guess. I don't know. So it's like it would get pretty complicated. But that's the thing with intellectual property. It's always going to get uh, complicated, and it's always going to have to develop because it deals with ideas. Ideas themselves can be very, complex,
Well, exactly.
even
And
though
this
they're
is
really simple on the surface. You know, so.
exactly, and I think this is why it's a really good example that we're playing around with, like, just something on the trademark. This is I mean, you're skipping to the real question. I mean, what's the philosophy? What's the philosophy about even the idea that, I don't know, a government, a state, or whatever can own ideas? I mean, I can get it. I can understand why they go, "Hey, I want protection that I'm not going to come up with a company, an idea, and that somebody's just going to come and
Mhm.
steal it." But equally, I always look at this and think, and I'm sure it's the same in America, but I could go to my local city or town here. I could go to a street market and I could find a Gucci handbag,
Mm.
and no one would know it's not a Gucci handbag. I mean, they are stitch for stitch a Gucci handbag. Now, we all know it's not Gucci because it's been sold for like, 20 quid or, $50. And it's kind of like, but dude, I mean, Gucci can have all the patents, the trademarks, and all that, but they're not going to go after the people in Vietnam and China who are sitting in some little slave shop making that. So ultimately, does it actually matter? Is it actually, other than just picking on the very small person, does it actually work across borders in the world we live anyway now? I don't know. I mean, but my general one to you is, What's the what's the general philosophy behind it? I mean, here we are in 2017. What's the argument given to why we need to have intellectual property rights, and that's based up by a law that's based in up by a government? I'd love to know the actual rationale that's given for this, especially 2017 in the age we live in.
I mean, honestly, basically, when it comes to the idea of why intellectual property is even around, I feel like the best way to describe that would be because, okay, just imagine an invention that you made. It's like, let's just say you made the flying car, right? You made that. And someone comes along, steals it, builds a big business off of it, profits off of it, gives you nothing. You know, you never come up with another idea like that again. This company doesn't care. They expand upon it. They make an empire out of it. You're left in the cold. That's what intellectual property is there for. In its purest form, it's there to say, you can't just steal this person's idea. And if he wants you to use this idea, then you're going to have to, negotiate with him rather than just try to railroad him or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You have to acknowledge this person made this and compensate them for it if they even let you use it. So that's what intellectual property is there for. And that works with trademarks, copyrights, and patents, really. Because you don't want people stealing your shit, especially shit that you came up with in your own mind, I wouldn't, but it is a double-edged sword nonetheless, because I do feel like in areas such as, especially music, once you put it out into the world, people should be able to use it however they want. You should not be able to prohibit people from using whatever you put out into the world. I don't feel like anybody should be able to steal your idea and claim it as their own, but they should be able to use it as they want because they bought it. Once you buy it, you own it, right? So I should be able to do whatever I please with it. And that's like one thing I have a problem with because it is a double-edged sword. The laws can push the limits of what creativity and interaction can we really, do with these products being put out into the world, because people want to modify things, people want to innovate things, people want to, build off of things, and the laws, I feel like sometimes can be restrictive on that. That's something I would like to see change.
Yes, I concur. But my kind of, again, I really want to sort of focus on it. I think it's fascinating you brought up music because I'll give you a vision of how I think, I'll give you a vision of something I think how you could move this forward, but not have the need for a lawyer and some kind of, big power behind that to enforce that law. So, for instance, let's talk about music. There's going to be many platforms coming that are going to be decentralized, and the idea that you could be, like for instance, one of the things we discussed with N99 is that when you put a track up, because you can watermark it, anytime it's going to be used, the person who used that track will always get some. The person who made it originally will always get recompensated just for the fact it's being used automatically, done by machine, not done by a human, just done through algorithms. Now, I get you because I'm on the other side. I would, my driving force has always been. I think we should, like you said, it should be an open market. But I think you do need to put some sort of recompense on it because it was one of the things I don't like about Pirate Bay. Pirate Bay came along and it was like, great, we can all get our music for free, but the artists suffered, the musicians suffered, and so that's why I think there should be an automatically, they can always get it. And you're right, dude, about copy and stuff like this. But again, we were talking before we went live. Let's be real about this, man. I mean, we live in a world where there's nothing original. We're all going to copy. I mean,
Exactly.
It gets really squirrely with music, man.
But it's like you have to protect it. You have to protect the property to a certain extent. That's why I say it's always going to be a sliding scale of how far and how strong are your intellectual property rights going to be within America, within the UK, within everywhere, versus how weak are they going to be? Because on both ends of the spectrum, are things that you need in order for, a society to function and be able to actually like create and innovate without fear of someone stealing their idea, or without fear of being persecuted because or prosecuted because you went out there and you innovated off of somebody else's idea. So it's like you have to find the balance between those two spectrums. So it's like that's just how it is. But when it comes to music in particular, and I just kind of want to touch on the Pirate Bay thing because I understand what you are saying about Pirate Bay, but I've also heard artists come out and say, like Brianna, 50, they came out and they were like, when people download our music, to be honest, it's just free. It's like free advertisement because that's how people find out about. That's how I find out. I found out a lot about a lot of artists by just downloading their music. If I don't know about you, I'm not gonna go out and buy a song from you on iTunes for $129. I'm not gonna go out there buy an album for $15.99 or whatever, 14, whatever. I'm not gonna do that because I don't even know who you are. So I need to download something. And I download it. I really fuck with you. Guess what? I'm coming to your concert, buying your music. I'll buy an album if I really fuck with you like that. I'll go and buy it just because. It's like, and then I'll talk about you too. So it's, to me, I feel like it's free advertisement in a lot of ways because nowadays, record sales, who buys a hard record anymore, really though? I wonder. The only time I would go out and buy a hard record is if I really fucked with somebody and I was like, man, like Kendrick. I would go out and buy a hard record on Kendrick because, I really fuck with Kendrick. And same goes for J. Cole. I'd go out and go to Target and buy it just because I fuck with them so much. But as far as utility goes, there are way more convenient methods that I can use to listen to your music, So I mean, the internet is there, so why not advertise on it? Why not, it's going to streaming and all that stuff. So obviously we're moving in a new way, but yeah.
No, exactly, my friend. And my point, I was really kind of macro level about Pirate Bay was, yeah, it was great, dude. I mean, I remember it coming out, and the idea of like great anything that took the power away from these parasites in record companies that sat there at the top and did nothing, and all the artists and the musicians were doing all the creating and getting nothing. That was what was great about Pirate Bay, because we thought, yeah, dude, I was one of them people that I was never, for instance, in on the side of the bands were saying, oh, it's terrible. These people. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it was a disruptive act. I think that if Pirate Bay came around now, this is exactly where I think we're about to enter a new wave of what's coming. Is if you want exactly the same idea, like you said, because I think you're absolutely right about sharing it, but you want to know that you put something up, you want to know that you get money for it. That's the point. I want to know that you're getting some recompense. Oh, great, you're absolutely right. But this is one of the things I've always said is about YouTube and all these things that right now, all the content creators and musicians and all that, we're doing all the work for all these companies and not getting, or what, you get a penny for every 10,000 views on YouTube or something stupid, and it shouldn't be that way around. It should be, I produce content if it's like, people are going to like it, and I, as a content producer, should get the direct rewards. Dude, that's the whole philosophy behind 99. Everyone should get 99% of the stuff back. It shouldn't be a middleman in the middle taking big cuts of 60% for this privilege. And that's exactly why the music industry went through that shift of big companies and putting out artists to Pirate Bay came along and to the world it is now. And I think it's trying to find that balance, as you said before we went live. The balance is not everything's just given away for free, and it's it should be okay. You produced it; it's going to be listened to and consumed on the internet. Can we, through that consumption, directly pay somebody for the content they produce? So someone like you isn't producing content and thinking, "Great, so what? Am I just here just to produce more and more content for free?" Because I think that's what I frustrates me. We shouldn't be living in a world where the musicians are the underbelly of society. We should be much higher in our status, because at the moment we're just expected to give everything for free, and hopefully that somebody will come along and see us a show and maybe buy a T-shirt from us. And it's kind of like, well, that's not going to pay my rent, dude. Ultimately, if you
Right.
want to pay rent, you've got to fill stadiums, and to fill stadiums, you've got to get known. And to get known, I shouldn't have to give away all my music for free just so I hope I can get one stadium. I should be able to sell 100,000. You know, if 100,000 people listen to my tracks, I should get some recompense for that. Not you do that. You give 100,000 away because you may get some people come and see you in a gig. Man, we can do it far better. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think technology is the mold that's going to sort of weave all this together. But I'm fascinated to do. I want to go back to someone who studied this. Is this discussed? I mean, do they when you're sitting there studying this in your lectures, do they discuss about disruptive technologies, Bitcoin, decentralization? What's coming with? Is this any of this discussed at all?
Well, I will say this. First, I think, when it comes to an artist and his pursuit, his or her pursuit, it really just depends all on what you're pursuing it for. Like, if you are pursuing it to pay rent, then hell yeah, you're gonna run into like some hard times for that, because you're probably not gonna get paid right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? As an artist, like, I can just speak, especially from my own experience, you're not gonna get paid like just like that usually, unless, I don't know, you already have those connections or whatever. But when it comes to technology, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. And you can definitely see that through music, because, like you said, and like I said, on one end, you don't want to give everything away for free. And on the other end, you know, people aren't going to buy your music if they don't know who you are. And you're going to have to show them who you are. And I think there is something to be said for just getting genuine recognition and genuine, responses from people based off of what you put out into the world. Regardless of money, I will say that there is, at least to me, great importance in that. So that's something that I really focus on. But when it comes to technology, it's a double-edged sword. It's definitely a double-edged sword, just like everything else in life, I suppose. Um, Bitcoins, they're out there. I don't have a problem with them per se right now, but I can definitely see how they would cause a problem in the future if not handled correctly, But that's how everything is. It's not anything we make, anything we create. It's not the creation itself. It's how we use that creation that really matters, that really causes an impact, that really, I guess, makes us judge if that creation is even good or bad, I mean, so when it comes to,
And again, is that, just Jenny to jump in, man? But is this being discussed amongst your lecturers when you're doing this, when you're studying this? I mean, or is it kind of like they don't even know it's coming? I say this because when I did my uni course, dude, I remember saying to people, it was like 10 years ago, and I was saying to them, look, hey, because it was a creative writing course, and I was saying, look, the real writers are the people going to be who write the scripts for video games, and they're like, no, that's just a niche little, things that boys play.
oh no, it does.
So, I mean, they didn't see it coming. They didn't see this
It
shit coming
does.
when. So,
It does get discussed. It does get discussed,
okay,
definitely.
cool.
Um, I mean, mostly it gets discussed in, like, my properties class. So when I'm in there, we're discussing all types of property, but we did step on intellectual property. And one of the things we discussed was, how weak or how strong do you think intellectual property laws should be? Like, what should be the level of protection? Should we just protect everything? Or really, you're not protecting everything if your intellectual property laws are super strong, because you'd have somebody make one thing, or a company make, like, maybe a company takes an idea, right, protects it, they have more resources, they actually steal an idea from somebody else before that person gets their idea protected, have more resources, gets it protected. Intellectual property laws are so strong that even a whiff of imitation will cause you to be prosecuted, and probably not prosecuted, same prosecuted, will cause you to be, sued, and then you'll probably lose because the laws are just so damn strong. Like, that would be awful. But then on the other side, if you just let everything go, right? You know what I'm saying? The laws are so weak, and you still have the same problem with people stealing ideas. It's just now no ideas are really being protected. It's just a free for all. So it's always going to be either this or that. You have to find the balance in the two. And we do talk about I've talked about that in class. You know, it's one of the topics that's come up a lot. And my school actually has pretty good intellectual property courses, and they have pretty good professors there. Yeah, so.
So, dude, okay, there's a couple ones on before we. I want to talk to you about patents and stuff like this, but just on this the trademark one. Now, again, I don't know whether it's an urban myth, but I mean, it's been spoken about for many years that there's a gentleman in the States who's got a trademark out on hashtag number. So look, for instance, tonight I've got Life is People hashtag 259, and apparently he's got a trademark on the fact if anyone does a hashtag and a number after it, he's got the trademark on that. He's and at any point he could come in and say, hey, you've all violated my trademark, and I want to pull the material. Now, again, how much validity has something like that got? And if you've heard that's an urban myth, please shoot that one down, because I get to hear it so many times about, the certain hashtags are all owned and trademarked, and an emoji is owned and trademarked, and it's like, really? Again, have you heard any of this? And again, if someone was to do that, say, come along and say, okay, I want to trademark a hashtag, is that in the domain of that's just free and open common stuff that nobody can actually trademark because it's already been out in the open? Or is every one of these pieces actually open to be trademarked, like hashtag, I don't know, life, or hashtag beautiful, or hashtag, or anything like that? I mean, go on.
I think it just, it depends on the level of uniqueness, I guess, of that hashtag, because any old generic hashtag, like hashtag love, and at least speaking from, in America, any of those, like a hashtag blessed or hashtag love or something like that, that's not going to get trademarked because it's too generic. It has to be something like, I guess, hashtag Sharkeisha. I don't know if you know who Sharkeisha is, man. Hashtag Sharkeisha. That may be able to get trademarked. Something like that. Hashtag, yeah, something like that, maybe. I don't know. But it really comes down to the level, like I said, always comes down to the level of how unique is the thing you're trying to get trademarked. Hashtag, maybe. Emojis, I'd say emojis are probably trademarked because there are a lot of companies that make those things, and you can download apps, that have a unique type of emoji in it. Doesn't mean that you cannot make an emoji that's like it. Like, you can make one that probably resembles it in a way, but just not too much. Like, the features can't be too similar,
Now,
but yeah.
when you again, going back to when you spoke about patents. Now, let's just take this from what you're just describing. So, especially with technology, this is something I tell you, I would love a clear answer to this one. But okay, I patent a piece of technology, a new piece of coding that's new, whatever, for whatever piece of technology that goes out. This piece of technology becomes universal. The television, the phone, you know what I mean, the whatever. And at some point, because I've patented this, I've gone to a lawyer in America, and I put the patent down and said, hey, this coding, this whatever it is, this technology piece, is mine. Like, is it, or would it be possible in theory? Because I don't know. I'm putting this to you. If I did own a patent on a piece of technology and I decided to pull it, would I, in theory, then could say, for instance, say someone had a patent on mobile phones and the connection between them, and he said, no, I don't, I'm pulling that patent. Would that mean that all phones then would be redundant and we'd have to start all over again, particularly with technology patents?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So are you saying like
Okay, I'll give you a very, very specific example. Tim Berners-Lee, who put the internet out now that we're talking on, right? His whole point was he did it all and he gave it away for free. He didn't own it. He didn't sit there and put a patent on it. He went, no, this is just a good thing for mankind to have the ability to communicate through these means of the internet. If he had put a patent on it, and for whatever reason, that doesn't important, but he decided like today, like, no, I'm pulling my patent on the internet. Could he just pull the plug on the internet and say, hey, you can't use it because it's my patent?
I mean, if someone is using a painting, right, or that you made and you don't want them to use it, it depends on how they're using it. Like, I think it depends on how they're using it, because if it's just being shown, like, I guess maybe they have a TV show and the painting's just hanging up, right? They bought it. I mean, I don't know if that would
No,
really
no, no,
work.
no, no, mate. No, sorry. What I meant was a patent. Sorry, I meant in the patent. So it's like
Oh, okay.
if
Yeah, I
Tim
was wondering
Berners,
what you were trying to get at
no,
first.
sorry, mate. Tim
No, it's all
Berners-Lee, the guy, a British guy over here, when he came out with the internet, it's quite a famous. He literally gave it away, and he didn't carry the patent for it. He said, no, this is just for the better of mankind. My question to you was, if he had put a patent on the internet and gone to America, gone to the lawyer and said, hey, look, every part of this connecting computers and all that, it's all my design, it's all me, and I've got a bit of paper that says it's all my patent. And he pulled that and said, hey, I don't want everybody using it for whatever reason. He had would that mean that he could pull the plug on the internet and we wouldn't be able to use the internet because it's his patent?
That would be tough. First, you would have to decide whose laws are you even abiding by, America's or the UK's. That gets into a whole bunch of types of questions, like even just questions of like civil procedure itself. Like, where do you even try that case? I don't know how the laws work in the UK, but assuming the laws work like they do in the UK, or like they do here in America, when it comes to bringing suit or pursuing somebody else in another state, I'm thinking that damn, that's hard. I don't even know. I guess they would come. I don't even know if they would come to if they would do it in the UK or if they would try it like in the US. But regardless of that, you'd have to find out whose laws are you abiding by, right? UK's or America's, and then on the second point, it's like even once you find that out, is America itself really going to give up the internet? Is that person even who started it in America going to even acknowledge that you're trying to get compensation for what's going on? Like, these are just practical matters of humanity, just taking the law out of it. Like, who's really going to even try to go over there to the UK and try and like, I guess, battle it out with the real inventor of the internet? Maybe he could come over here and then they could battle it out here. And if they did, I guess that would be more legitimate. But again, would America even want that to happen? Like, will any country who's all using the internet want that to happen? I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't even know if I know the answer to that.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm saying I wanted to, I'm glad that you've given me that answer because I wanted it to be a difficult question because my point would be, it goes back to the theme of what you're talking about, because you quite rightly said that these laws are there to protect, and you can understand someone will go, hey, I want to protect my rights, like you said, like the example we just given, but ultimately, as I said before, that it wouldn't be relevant. So then I think, well, why do people do it? Why are companies spending so much millions on patent laws and protecting their patents for these technologies? If ultimately, like you said, if it came to it, it's like, who's going to argue against the internet? Or who's going to argue against mobile phones? Or who's going to argue against it? We would all suffer from it. And again, that's what I'm trying to say. It's just at least this fundamental question, and that's why I wanted to throw that difficult one in with the internet and stuff like that. Because what would we do? I mean, it ultimately means that it's all just a farce. Because what's the point of having a patent law if, like you said, if actually for the good of humanity we're just going to ignore it?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think in that scenario something went down. I guess the person from America, or no, the person from the UK would travel to America, try to sue him in, like, I guess, an American court. And then the crazy part would be, though, is like, okay, you had a trademark, but you had a trademark in the UK. So how are you even going to apply like American laws to a trademark in the UK? I don't know. That involves like areas of international law that I'm not even sure about. Honestly, I can't even I can't even sit up here and act like I even have the answer for that. But that's the beauty of it all. Like that's the complication of it all. Like just in the protection of the idea itself and the impact that can have on the world in general. That's why intellectual property I think is so important.
Yeah, I mean that's why to me, as I said, man, it fascinates me because I think as we're going to progress forward, we're going to get so much. That's and again, I bring to the mobile phone, the internet, the some of the things in our lives are so almost to the point where you can argue they're in some countries they're actually deemed as rights. I mean, the internet in some countries is deemed as rights, and I think with the way that technology is going to go, dude, it's going to take some guy to put a painting in, and we could all be up, in a different world if he just pulled it. And that's the thing with technology because it's like putting a patent on maybe how a carton will fold for a glass, for milk, or a patent on how a certain design of a car engine would be. But when you start doing with technology, dude, that starts to affect us all, I think you start to get some very squirrely. You go down some very dark and squirrely paths because you think,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, dude. But I mean, like I said, I'm fascinated because that's the point, man, and that's one of the things you realize that constantly with technology, they're bubbling up all the time, and it's
For
one of
real.
these just one of these bits of technology that we're not paying any attention to. It could affect us all, and that's why I'm fascinated to really, like you say, especially when it comes down to it goes down to intellectual and a high level, international sort of politics and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, man, to take a skid mark from law and stuff like that, dude. We've spoken for nearly an hour now, and we haven't really sort of spoken about music. What have you been up to, man? Because last time we were sort of spoken, you kind of put some tracks out, and if anyone follows you on SoundCloud, you can see you put one or two tracks out, man. But I mean, what's the sort of state of where you are with your music at the moment?
Well, I mean, to speed you up, I guess, on everything, shortly after we talked that first time, I started doing shows like for the first time, and as that went on, I did a couple house shows. I've done a couple venues here and there, and then I've also headlined. I headlined my first music festival actually. A little. It's now speaking about it now. It happened a while ago, but after I met you and after we had this conversation and stuff, and I was telling you about what I was doing, I started promoting the EP, and after I promoted the EP, I went ahead and performed it, and then eventually I headlined a music festival out in Denton, and then after that, I performed it a couple more times. But then I started to kind of be like, well, I could keep doing this, performing, this EP, but right now I'm kind of more in a creative mode where I'm going back into like the studio and stuff, creating more, content. I released a couple of singles after that, but I'm about to release a new project, and it's almost done. It's on the way. It's almost done. Right now, I can't tell you if this is gonna be the title for it forever, but right now the title is Days and Nights. So that's gonna be the title, and the play of it is it just really takes you through, my life throughout the day and throughout the night, like what I do, through song, through tracks, melodies, hits, whatever you want to call them, beats. It takes you out. It takes you throughout my day, and I do that by contrasting the feel of the track throughout one part, uh, which is the day, and then in another part is the night. So you have your lighter tracks in the day, darker tracks at night, and then the content's always going to be crazy. So you already know. That's pretty much what I'm doing. That's how it's going with music right now. But yep.
Man, fascinating. So and I think you're absolutely right, dude. And I mean, I think we may have spoken this before on this, but just on a general one, I mean, it's fascinating. You call your day and night, and I think it's particularly around creative people. Do I mean, particularly the night one. I mean, I'm going to be fascinated to hear the night tracks, because to me, nighttime is when we the creators are the most creative, dude. I mean, maybe I'm just, but every
No, I
single
mean it's been scientifically proven that, at night our minds are more creative. And when you think about it, it's not that crazy to think, because you usually are asleep at night, and at night where you're dreaming. I mean, just think about how much I guess, yeah, really just think about how much creativity goes into dreaming, like literally hallucinating in your sleep. So it's like, yeah, I could see night being the time when your brain is most active. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I've kind of pattern I've noticed in talking to many creative people. You're absolutely right, and it's definitely the night one. And I think you're absolutely right on what you just said. But equally, because I personally think it's completely around that sleep moment. And that's why at times you can be creative early in the morning when you just wake up.
Hmm.
I got into a discipline years back of always carrying a book by the side of my bed. So the first thing I can wake up, I don't just I write my dreams down, or anything I can recall, because it's a really good discipline to get, because you start to pull out lyrics and things like this. And so I find when you just wake up, man, you can be as creative as anything else. But the trouble with when you wake up, it's so fleeting. Because if you don't get into
Yeah,
that discipline by 10 minutes time, you're having a shower and you're like, oh, I had such a profound dream, and it was such a profound, and it's just
that
all gone.
sucks. You try to hold on to it. I mean, I guess the best I could tell you is to try to write it down. I don't personally do it. I thought about doing it, I've just been too lazy. But yeah, I'd write it down. That's some
Dude,
trippy ass dreams, man.
hmm?
Yeah, that's some weird. Okay. There are some dreams, right, that just stick out forever, right? Do you remember? Do you remember any of your dreams? Because they're like, I could probably name a handful of dreams that I could at least kind of remember, and they've just been throughout my life. I don't know if that's how everybody is. So
No, I know what you're saying, my friend.
yeah, right?
I do know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I
It's
wonder
the
why.
dude. I mean, this is a rabbit hole you could really go down with me, because, as I said before, I mean, I told you about I've got a pen and pad by the side of my book, dude. I went down. I've been down this rabbit hole completely about the actual trying to, like, control your dreams. So the first training, man, I spent, remember, a long time just trying to, when you're in a dream, trying to look at your hand, and if you can see your hand,
Yeah, I've
then you can
heard
start.
that that's what you're supposed to do.
Mate, once you get
Like,
in, once you get into this, is the reason I say this, because you start to realize that exactly what you just said. There's almost like starting points off for dreams. Like you always go back to, oh, I'm back here again. I'm back here again. I'm back here
yeah,
again. I'm seeing the same, mate.
like
It's a fast.
lucid. That's lucid, like lucid
Mm,
dreaming. When you just there realizing. I do that. Everybody, I feel like, people do that, whether they try to or not, really. But I I can't say I can, like, always, like, give myself superpowers on command just yet or anything like that. I wish I could. I don't know if it works like that, but once you realize you're in a dream, a lot of possibilities and shit opens up for you. So you can do all this
oh,
other
dude.
shit.
Again, I mean, I'm not going to go into a. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go into a dream psychoanalysis, man. But I mean, one of the fascinating things I've had that recurring dream, and I've had it ever since I was a child, of having the dream where I will be, and obviously I'm not aware who I am, but and I'll be listening to, for instance, I'll be listening to some people talking, and they'll be talking a language I don't understand, but I'll understand it all. And you're like, whoa, no, I don't know. I mean, this is a whole, you could go down a whole rabbit hole. Are we just entering other people's consciousness? I mean, if I have a dream where I'm sitting at a campfire, and, I'm probably in, Sudan or Chad, and I'm, hearing all the conversations, is that just me in my mind making it, hallucinating that all up? Or am I actually somehow got myself into that situation, and I'm experiencing it, mate? This is where
But
we're going to
the
go.
closest, dude,
Go on.
the closest thing I've ever heard to, I guess, what you're saying, and it's pretty far off from what you're saying, just a disclaimer, but the closest thing I've ever heard to what you're saying is that, like, we remember people. This is just from the movie Inception, either. I'm not acting like I got this from anywhere. But we are like, we remember people throughout our lives, remember the faces throughout our lives, and they come back in our dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like the random people you see in your dreams that you just don't even remember, your consciousness isn't necessarily making that up from thin air. It's a memory that you've had of seeing somebody's face on the street, you know? And so that's probably the closest thing I can even think of to what you were talking about. Because yeah, it's like you store all that, pretty much like I guess RAM or whatever in your head, and it just randomly comes out in your dreams in certain ways, like people's faces that you've seen. Just think about how many faces you've seen in your entire life. That's probably enough to fill up a lot of dreams. Because first of all, you could even be seeing actually, you know what? I don't even want to get too far down into it because this sounds like the beginning of some horror story or something, and I don't even fuck with that shit. So we can just move on to the next topic.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Man.
That's a pure offline conversation.
Yeah. I don't even want to bring that into my life. I don't need something weird happening in my dreams like that.
Yeah, you're right, my friend. Like I said, it's a different subject. But so man, you mentioned. I mean, that was what I'm saying. We went down a rabbit hole anyway. But you mentioned, obviously, you got some new, Day and Night and the EP coming out. So is it what? Is this going to be an EP or how many tracks? How many sort of tracks you got?
Right now I got about 8 to 9 that I can put on. I got more that I can put on, but I got 8 to 9 that I'm probably looking at doing right now. And then, it's not over until I release it. And shit, even after that, I could still add to it, But mixtape, but track wise, right now, like I said, 8 or 9. Probably add a couple more on there as well. I wanted to go ahead and get a certain buzz going, a little bit of a like not, I mean, I guess a fan base, but just a little bit of recognition, before I released a mixtape. Not necessarily because I'm like, oh, it's time to blow up. It's just like I just want I want to have more of a platform to release my music on than I did the first time I did it. It's just about progression. So that's why I did the shows. Really took my time with what I'm gonna be putting out right now, and really cultivated genuine relationships with people that listen to my music. As long as I can do that. I mean, I can always do that because you do it through the music, but
Exactly. Now, a question I want to sort of put to you, and obviously when you're in the process now of putting the, the mixtape, the tracks in order and stuff, do you actually sort of actually have a kind of arc that you expect people to go through? As in they should listen to track one, and this is why it's been done this way, or are you very aware that we live in a work, the age we are, which you perfectly eruditely explained about, it's just all out there. Do you sort of think, oh, people are just going to listen to whatever tracks in any order anyway, or do you actually sit and try to curve, like I'm saying, process the tracks in a certain way, so it's going to be sort of giving an arc of a story? I mean, what's your thought process on that?
well, for this particular mixtape that I'm working on, the title and the idea kind of came hand in hand because with a title like Days and Nights, I do have a certain progression that I'm going through. I do have certain tracks playing at certain times, and I have other tracks playing at other times because I am creating a stream of thought, a stream of consciousness throughout the whole thing that's set up in such a way where it's ordered. Like it's not a Quentin Tarantino film. It's not everything is not really out of place like that. It's actually on this particular project, everything's lined up. It's all chronologically ordered throughout. So I look forward to seeing what the reaction is to that, and I look forward, to hearing people who don't even know the concept, what they think about the title, and if they connect the dots on the title and the track listing.
Now, one of the things I have to ask you on this one, my friend, and again, I just have to put this out. Obviously, you put out a lot of stuff audio wise. But generally, you haven't really put anything out visually. You don't put sort of like visuals to any of your tracks. Is that a deliberate choice, or is that something just it's just been circumstances, time, not knowing the right people, and is that something as you progress forward, that's something you want to do, or
I mean, no, it's not. I mean, it's not deliberate. It was circumstance, or at least, like I said, it was because right now I'm actually in the middle of developing a music video. Visuals, really, it's not right now. I don't know if it's going to be animated or if I'm going to actually have real people in it. But I've been working with an artist who's a good friend of mine, and we kind of thought of an idea for a music video. He's getting the storyboard together right now. He's been sending me, clips for it, and we should have that out soon. So, like I said, it was circumstance, but yeah,
nice, man. That's really good. I'll be absolutely on tenterhooks waiting to see what that's going to look
yeah,
like. Dude, 'cause I think it's one of the things about listening to your music. You create a lot of images in your head, so I'm going to be fascinated to know what your
yeah, man. I'm
images
excited
you're
for
going to.
it. I'm excited for that.
So obviously you mentioned you got that coming up, and what's the sort of plan? I mean, you planning to sort of like, I mean, you got any gigs, any stuff lined up, to sort of where people can come and see you live in the next few months?
Yeah, yeah. I have actually. Before we got on the show, I actually was just talking to a venue. And they well, probably gonna be playing July 13th. Either honestly, it's either June or July. I think it's actually closer than that, June, like June 13th, right? I just got that scheduled, and then I also have a competition, like a showcase coming up actually on Sunday. So yeah, when school's going on, sometimes it's hard to schedule, but as soon as school stopped, I just got back on it, and now I'm starting to do more things again. Get back out there during school time. It's almost like during school time, I'm working on school, but then I'm also actually working on my content. So now I have content ready. Summer's rolling around. Start doing shows. Promoting the music, actually putting it out there. I feel like I can do more. During the summer, even though I still have other things, to do. I can do more of what, not necessarily what I want, because I could book shows. I have booked shows like during the school year, but it's just not the same because you don't have to worry about scheduling as much. I can almost like go more all in on it. So yeah, I got got a couple of shows coming up, and I'm gonna have some more running through this whole summer. So I know you're all the way out there, but if you ever want to come down.
Well, dude, no, I mean, I say this in all sincerity, my friend. I've said before, I look forward to seeing today. Great, I'll go to see you in America. I can't wait to see the day when you come over here, man. And
Yeah,
dude, and I mean this in all sincerity. And let's be real about this conversation. As you know, the fortune favors the brave. It's one of the sort of sayings of our SAS, that fortune favors the brave. And I think that the people like yourself, dude, and let's be real about this, the wisdom you have and what you're seeing, how you're viewing the world right now, dude, you're at the vanguard of something that's going to be massive, dude. Like in nothing else I've ever seen in my life, because I think one of the differences is that I've waited 20 years to see an absolute paradigm shift, because I think the only paradigm shift I've seen in my life was when we went from non-internet to the internet. And I'm old enough to remember life pre-internet and all that crap, all that,
yeah,
man. But right now, where we are right now, where we're going to be in 10 years' time, man, it's going to be the people who, like you right now, who are seeing this, who are going to reap all the rewards in the future, man. And that's why I say it's not only, I don't just sit here and say, oh, I look forward to the day I see you in Scotland, dude. Dude, when you're going to come over here in Scotland, man, it's going to be fighting
oh,
through the crowds of all the screaming girls, man. Who are like, yeah, whatever. So that day is coming, man. Look, it's been absolute, man, mate, as always, an insightful conversation, man. And
of
well,
course.
like you said, before we went live, you sent me this track code, which I want to end on. So this is going to be completely the first time I've heard this from myself. So So
Okay, I see.
while I'm queuing this up, man, I just want to say huge thank you for giving me your time, dude. It's been an
Yeah,
absolute an insightful conversation. And while I am queuing this up, just a couple of things. Tell people where they can reach out and where they can find you, and equally tell us a bit of background about this track we're going to play, and and then like I say, we'll play out with that. But like I say,
sure.
huge thanks for coming on. And well, I just want to say before we do, while you describe it, I want to say all over from over in Scotland to all over there in the USA. I want to say life is people. But you tell us about this track, my friend.
Life is people, man. Life is people. Yeah. So like I've already shown you 3 strikes, right? So you already know about that one. That's more of the night track. Now you have this song called Life, and it's about life itself. It's just about life. Life is a bitch, right? Life can be a bitch, but it's my bitch. Like that's the best way to describe this whole track. It's that's the message throughout this track. It's mine. It's tough. It can be tough. It can be ominous, but it can also be beautiful. It's mine. So that's the track.
Yeah. Now what you know about game? Others claim to do it, but they don't do it the same. Life's a bitch, I cuff her and she give me good brain. This that spodiody dopalicious, peep the mind frame. Let the ambiance sink into the mainframe. As I'm all blacked out, Dark Knight Bruce Wayne. When she get to bitchin', I just steady bring the pain. Turn her out, no doubt. Me and her are right as rain. Cruising.
Is it lagging on your end though?
Lanes, dope shit up
Okay.
in my speakers like I'm riding with the cane.
I'm glad he's smoking too.
When they women get a taste, then they steady do the same. Coming down your block like I was your pusher, man. Smoother than a pimp, Cat Williams ain't a thing. Starting up that fire, don't need propane. Just me and my dame as we set the world aflame. Yeah. Life's a bitch, but she be mine. I fuck her brains out every time after time. She give me good head as I sit back recline. Check the fine lines when you hear a nigga rhyme. I don't waste no time, steady get to it. Coming for that good, and she know I run through it. Spit the flow fluid, other niggas acting stupid. But every time I'm all up in that pussy, I get foolish. Fuck the game raw, spit it crystal clear, lucid. She like the way I use my tongue, she like the way I move it. Sliding through them bars be icy, they the coolest. The reason that she loves me cause my attitude's the rudest. Slap a foolish nigga if he try and touch a booty. Slap a foolish nigga if he try and touch my cutie. Cause she mine, all mine. Yes, she is truly. Even though she crazy and she get a little moody. Yeah.
It sounded like it was